Hello there, listener, and welcome to Hacker Talk, the podcast by hackers for hackers. My name is Philip, and I will be your host during today's episode. When we were sketching on the guest list, several names of various security researchers was brought up, and one of those people that I was very keen on having on Hacker Talk's guest list is today's guest. Why, you might ask? Because he does amazing security research on a global scale. He finds interesting protocols, then goes out on the internet and see what he finds, often resulting in very interesting results and several great talks. Today's guest is a security researcher, professional pen tester, speaker at various conferences. The list goes on and on. Our guest of honor today is Lucas Lundgren. How are you doing today, Lucas?
Hi, Philip. I'm doing great. A little bit tired, tired of the weather in Sweden, but other than that, I'm doing fine. How about you, sir?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on the show today, talking about Masscan, all this cool technique. But how did you get here? How did you get into hacking? How did you get into technology?
Well, I've been doing this stuff since I was 6 or 7. As a young kid, it's the curiosity thing. I had the evil bit and the curiosity thing. So I started by smashing my dad's radio and asked him to rebuild it because I want to see how we actually make a radio. Yeah, but that's basically how it went down. And then, I got a Commodore 64 and the Amiga 500. Yeah. So what we were doing there back then, we were trading games with each other. We didn't know the legalities of trading games. We were changing trading games, and some of my so-called friends decided, if I give him every disc and then I don't copy disc 5, then he will come back to me asking for disc 5, and then I can say, new game, please. So that's what one of my friends did. So I started playing a game and disc 5 didn't work. And I called him up and said, hey, buddy, we need to recopy disc 5 because it didn't work. And he said, yeah, but then I need another game from you. And I thought, oh, hell no. This is not going to work. That's not how you do business.
Yeah.
So I said, sure, fine. And what I did was we had an antivirus back in the Amiga days, which allowed me to actually write the entire virus signature onto disk and activate it. So what I did was actually got it to disk and then I modified it. So instead of the normal guru meditation or error code, it would say, call Lucas to get this fixed. And it was a time bomb virus. So he could be playing for 5 minutes before that popped up. And then he just sat back and just waited. And then the phone rang. It's like, oh, is there a problem? Yeah, and he said, yeah, it says I should call you on the screen. Yeah. I'm just going to make sure that all my discs work. And if they do, then else, you can bring your discs here and I can copy the legit game and you can copy the legit game. And then, that's it. It kind of backfired because nobody wanted to copy games from me again when I knew I could do that. So, but that's the road it started. And then, back in like 1992, when modems became the fad and the internet started, I got very, very curious about the America's first hosting provider called Pro Hosting.
Yeah.
So I was actually checking them out and found a vulnerability in their search engine, in the search bar, which allowed me to inject Perl code. Then that was my first report. And they wanted to invite me to the United States to come and talk at conferences and how I found it, their internal conference and stuff. I was like, dude, I'm only like 13. But that's down the rabbit hole it went. And I've been doing IT security ever since, basically.
That's awesome. 13 years old and going to a conference. I mean, we're having...
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could back then, but, it's... But there were so many bugs we found. I've found so many bugs, and then I found people who were like-minded and thought the way I did, and were just curious about the world and why we couldn't, get manuals for the. In Sweden, we have the AXE telephone system. And why wasn't that shared? How can we get those manuals? I want to know how it works. So, and also I started war dialing at an early age. So with my Amiga 500 and PC, I started war dialing the whole municipality, cool. Right? And that was great until the phone bill arrived for 7,000 Swedish kroner, which is approximately what, $700 or something. Like $750.
$750 or.
Lived with my grandma back then. She was not happy, and she put one of those padlocks on my phone outlet, so I couldn't use the modem. And there comes lock picking. Yeah. So I started to learn lock picking. So when she was asleep at night, I would pick the lock on that modem thing, and then just connect my modem and dial up to the internet again and say hi to my buddies.
Nice.
Just so I was in bed like at 6:30 in the morning, because she went up at 7. So I got my half hour. It looks like I'm sleeping type thing. But I was just up 24/7 for days, just doing stuff and learning and trying to find other computers. That was a downside. I didn't find any answering computers on the other end, which was devastating. So that's a little bit about my story.
That's cool. That's really interesting. You've been tinkering with a lot of cool protocols, such as QTT and with PAC, and you scanned a lot with Masscan. So, how did you get introduced to Masscan, and when did you start scanning the internet? So
I had the option to basically build my own port scanner from scratch. I wanted to be fast, and the downside of making it fast is you can't follow the TCP procedure. You have to get your own stack and get that stuff working. But then I saw Robert Graham had released that Masscan tool. You had ZMap and you had Masscan, and ZMap is also great. It's also a great tool for scanning the entire internet. But in my case, I wanted to be able to spew some data in and out, and then Masscan was the option to go for me. So, and I still use that to this day, basically, just doing Masscan, even if don't know if he's abandoned it or if it's not updated, or if it is, I'm just running it, and it's a great tool. You could achieve the same thing with Nmap, basically, but a little more flags, and it's not as easy as just going, this rate is the rate that I want, go. You have to do like packets and ignores and, making sure that it doesn't retry several times and stuff like that. So I thought Masscan was a little bit easier, and it supports the Nmap as well. Nmap standard, and it spews out data. So.
Cool. How does your setup look when you're actually scanning? Do you spin up with on a virtual machine, or do you have some special?
I actually do use the cloud. So I have a good relationship with my provider, which means that a couple of days before my scanning, I send them an email and say, hey, it's time for me to do that scan again. And they go, sure, we're ready for you. And they will handle every email that comes in, which is great. And there's a 10 gigabit line as well to that service provider. Yeah. So I'm actually scanning from there, and they handle all the requests. If they're coming something offensive, like you shouldn't be scanning, then I get to take a part of that as well. But when my machine is running, there's a web server saying this is a research machine. Please reply here if you want to be on the ignore list for the next time. So, but it's great. It's more the disk space and the data that is my problem, because it takes a lot, and then you have to process that, dig through the heaps of data that you found in order to actually get something useful out of it. And
I assume you pick the port and you pick the protocol, and then you let it run a couple of hours, and then you just are digging in that data. Or
yeah, definitely. You should do it manually. You should do it by hand, manually, using cut and grep and awk and sed in order to get some pre-results that might be yeah, exactly. To get it, like, I can't wait. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I can't just wait. I can't just sit down and wait until it's done and then start importing it to heavier tools like Elasticsearch, Kibana, and Longstash, stuff like that. I want to see it live. So usually it's Oxide grep for the win.
Awesome. And what protocols have you focused on so far?
I kind of went with the, term abandoned protocols that, are forgotten and, haven't been tried and tested, because everybody's doing everything with everything except these old geezers like MQTT, which is think it was 1985, if I remember correctly, that one started. But it has gotten that many, updates in security. I start reading the manual about the protocols, and you can see like, okay, so you can just, so this is how all right, cool. And then just recording my own traffic using that protocol, like I did with Masscan, and taking that part, which was in MQTT, subscribe to hashtag. When that happens, you listen to everything that's going on, and then, record that for 10 seconds and disconnect. And that was done with Masscan command line, just very simple, very basic. But my usual methodology, just, find something old, find something, forgotten. People say the old Gopher protocol, but some people are looking into that already, and I've seen some vulnerabilities there. But, a good tip would be iSCSI.
iSCSI.
And now some people, I warned about, not warned, but I flagged 3-4 years ago on, I think it was DEF CON or SA or something, private booth, and said like, if you want to fuss something, fuss iSCSI. I had various, a lot of crashes on Microsoft environments with iSCSI, and there's a vulnerability there. And I saw, could it be like a month ago, someone released just that vulnerability that I fussed and found out. But iSCSI basically allows you to take any drive anywhere and just mount it on your file system. And you can do that unauthenticated in some cases. Good example of this is like there was an embassy that had their iSCSI just exposed, and there was passports, and there's like everything.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it is crazy. And we also have the PAX, which is more recently, but that requires a little bit more finesse. So you need to download an application and you find a PAX server, stuff like that. But I managed to get the PAX running in Linux with the existing libraries, even if they are.
And what is PAX for all our listeners that don't?
PAX is basically the storage server on which all your X-rays end up. This is the one that the doctor sees in his display. He connects to PAX server. He searches for your social security or your patient ID, and he gets your X-rays, and he can view it from, if it's set up, you can view it from a beach in wherever, preferably Aruba. You can sit down and just look at an X-ray or send it to someone else. Basically, it's been crazy so far. I don't see it slowing down, especially not PAX. Tried to flag it to people, but it gets silenced somewhere in the road. It's like people, they know about it, but they just stick their fingers in their ears and just look the other way until GDPR hits them or the American equivalent of the Patient Information Act actually hits them in the face. Then it's all of a sudden becomes serious.
Why do you think it is like that? Is it because lack of resources, or just that people don't want more things to do?
A combination. I think it's a combination. I think in some cases it's all about the money. In other cases, it's we don't have the resources. In other cases, it's lack of understanding. Other cases, it can also be who is responsible. Oh, I'm not responsible anymore, but it's still there. But I'm not responsible for this. That is this third party or this, these people or the IT. But it is complicated. Let's just set the Facebook status to that, because it is for some people it's all about the money. If they can take the risk, either we pay $250,000 right now and get this fixed, or we just keep at it as it is and hope we don't get noticed. So that would be the worst case scenario, right? Yeah.
So how did you find this protocol? You just researched it, or?
Yeah. I mean, funny thing. I was just done with my MQTT. I had done a talk at Black Hat for the aftermath of MQTT. And I sat down at my current employer's place, and I was like, X-ray machines. Maybe I should hack those. And I just downloaded a manual for an X-ray machine from one of the vendors. And it mentioned like PAX server. I was like, PAX server, PAX, what's the PAX server? And you Google PAX server. Oh, it's the storage server for the X-rays. Oh, how does that work? And then you see like the PAX standard, and you just follow that through. And then it's like, And I know Shodan back then didn't have anything about the PAX then. But I decided, okay, so what if I scan the internet with that port? How many would I find? And I found like 220,000, something like that. And those can contain millions of users and X-rays dating back to 1985 and onwards. Yeah.
Did you just scan for the port, or did you do?
Yes, I started with the port, right? And then I thought to myself, now when I got the port, there's got to be some kind of authentication, isn't there? So I tried a couple of servers which they connected but didn't get any data, and it has to do with whatever your machine identifies as. But then on some of them, I started getting data. And I remember one of my colleagues said, like, yeah, I'm from Portugal. Do you have that hospital? Yeah, I have it here. It's in the list. The IP that belongs to that hospital. Can you check if you could find my mom and dad? And lo and behold, we could find the person's mom and dad in that hospital for the X-rays as well. And that was just any software you can download on your phone or whatever and just connect. Just in an IP port. Enter. You're in.
And, there's no normal authentication to this, or?
No, there is like an identifier that you can use. For instance, you're only allowing computers by the name of X-ray scan 2022 FICD.
Like a host name.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not really authentication. I know they implemented like TLS or something right now, and then they have some sort of authentication now, but it's not mandatory. Because the problem we have here is if all of a sudden you require mandatory username and password and authentication on a PAC server, then that X-ray machine that is not getting updated won't be able to connect to it anymore. And that's like waste of money because all it does is X-rays and no software updates. And yeah, that's millions just down the drain. It is crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. So basically, once you have access to one of those, when you find a port, you can edit files as well, right? With cget and cmove.
You can, yeah, exactly. So you have dangerous commands, which is cmove. I'm glad I researched that before. That's very important, not to do anything nefarious. Basically, we have a law that says if everything is open, it's a service that is provided. So since there is no authentication, fine, I guess it should be open then. But dangerous commands such as cmove, which actually tells the server, I'm going to move this X-ray file to my computer. And then you have cget, which actually just takes a copy of that and then gives it to you. So what you should do if you do it is using the cget. If you use the cmove command, and then you can edit the pictures and then move it back to the server and update it basically. So if you had black spots on your lung, well, you don't anymore. Or if the other way around, you have some black spots. Yeah, exactly.
That would be absolutely terrible if someone wrote a scanner that just automatically added black dots to X-rays. There is one.
There is. Yeah.
Oh shit.
An Israeli research company made a malware that actually targets PAC servers and X-ray machines internally.
Oh.
Yeah. And it uses AI to identify what kind of pictures it has, and AI then puts black spots on the lungs and then re-uploads it. I mean, you can easily weaponize that to be used globally.
Wow.
Which is nasty.
That's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to have those kind of data sets and get the AI to identify a set of lungs, and then make an educated estimation on where to put some black dots that looks like black dots. And then re-upload. That's the easy part. There's also now malware hiding within images. So open PAC servers can actually have descriptions. So you have descriptor fields that says like patient name, lung, doctor, other notes, etc., etc. And there's actually malware hiding there where you can like hide in the fields a string on, for example, what the command and control server should do next, or what the clients of the command and control should do next. So when it connects to that one, it can read that patient with that ID and find out what the next command in the sequence is, or download this base64 exe file and execute it. I mean, that is being used and actively exploited as well.
So that's something you can find in the wild today.
Yeah, that's something you find in the wild. And like,
oh wow.
You need to know the patient name, basically. But it's been stumbled upon, according to news, which is nasty. The same thing, it's almost like the MQTT protocol, jumping back to that, was built for malware distribution. because the whole MQTT is built.
It's an embedded
in the middle
protocol, right? Or
yeah, exactly. You can use it with everything though. So if you have it on, you can have a MQTT broker server hosted somewhere, or use the free one, which is there's like a hosted one where you can like do whatever. And you could easily have all your infected clients connect to that broker, and then you can send commands to it. I actually did that malware as a demo, Black Hat, where every client connected was saying, "What is beating my master?" And then I could just type the command that I wanted to be run, and it would distribute to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of clients pretty easy. And if the client was offline, yeah, it's okay. When he connects back, he will get the commands, to update or whatever. So it's almost like it was built with that, malicious intent in mind. Or maybe it's just me having the evil bits, not seeing the true nature and how pretty it can be.
But you found a lot of interesting things when researching the MQTT host, right?
Yeah, there was stuff I couldn't even show, man.
Didn't you mention that you find prison systems and like doors?
Oh yeah,
and
prison system with doors opening and closing, and you could check on the map that this is actually a prison. It was a prison in the UK, and you can see that those doors were opening and closing based on whatever data was inserted into the MQTT broker. I didn't try to open all the doors, but I could see it, and I could definitely interact if I wanted to, just writing open to all the prison doors. But we found like ATMs, basically. You can see ATMs and money being transacted, account numbers, how much money there was left in the ATM machine, all that stuff. And you could write to those as well. So if you wanted to do changes, you could do that. Or, eject cash, you probably could have done that as well.
Well,
so it's, crazy stuff, man. We had one incident that happened that I didn't mention. That was actually after my first talk at MQTT. I was talking about an earthquake system in Japan.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, that's nice, that's cool. And everything ended, and I sat down with my buddies. We had something to eat, and then one of the reporter guys that was out, we got a call. And it's just like, it's a 5.6 on the scale, earthquake in Japan. All the sensors are alarming. Turns out that was fake. So someone did something with those sensors down in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't write the IP out, nothing. Just
okay, someone just found
that
it
has MQTT. Yeah,
during
someone just like fast MQTT and then just made a fictional earthquake. That was a bit okay. What? Crazy. But we have everything: nuclear power plants and oil pipelines that display the pressure of oil being transmitted, where you can actually change the pressure in the oil pipeline to have it push in more oil, and then maybe that pipeline would burst. Or radiation in power plants, you can say that it's safe when it's not. It basically is, they have a sensor that screams into the MQTT broker saying, it's okay. And then I can, if I speak faster than that one, I will overwrite whatever it says. So if it does it once every 30 seconds, if I do it every 10 seconds, or every 5 or every second for that instance, it doesn't matter if it says safe. Or in the other way around, it's not safe, and the alarm will start blaring and people will evacuate. It is crazy. You can even found Microsoft had an entire farm of computers being controlled over MQTT with a command prompt. So you could send commands in like dear, and you will get like a response. And that belonged to the Microsoft Azure team as well. There was several computers you can shut down and reboot, and it was all open, no authentication.
Wow.
It's crazy, actually. It's so many things.
What happens like when you find, like you describe, an oil line that you can change the pressure on? That's kind of a really, really bad thing to have on the internet. What do you do when you find something that's like super, super bad? Is it like write an abuse request, but that's going to get picked up in some email filter and no one's going to read it? Or
yeah, no one's going to read it. You need to know exactly who to contact within the company. I've learned that the hard way, way back, like 92, 95, when you reported something. There was this one guy and it's like, oh man, that's awesome. Thank you for notifying. Now it's like you need to go through this whole chain of people.
Bureaucracy. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that game you played in kindergarten where you're supposed to whisper something in the ear of another?
Yeah.
And you would see 10 people or 20 people and what it would be when it comes out the other.
Yeah.
It's basically that, but in email form. So you say something and they like try to forward it and then it doesn't get picked up or it doesn't get forwarded or it's something completely coming out on the other end. That's the dilemma. That's the problem. You could call search for that country, but I don't think that country has a computer emergency response team. So yeah, it is the same thing with the PAC servers or with anything you find. And that's why you go and present it. Because if there is someone there that is a key factor in these decisions or knows someone who knows someone, like after my MQTT talk, I sat down with security people at Amazon, at Microsoft, IBM, and we had a round table. We sat down and just openly talked about it and see what changes they can implement and what they can do. And if I discovered them somewhere, and that was like a closed forum, and that was really, really what was needed. And that is so good with DEF CON doing that afterwards, like you have a closed room talk. Anybody wants to be there, go into that room, sit down and just, brief out what your concerns are. And those were key people. And that's really great. And I know that Amazon did some changes, Azure did some changes. So they're basing it off the MQTT, but it's their own branch of MQTT. So it's still the foundation of what MQTT is and what it's supposed to do, but with some extra layers, security and tokens and certificates.
Nice.
So that is really great to see. And I know now MQTT has done the changes as well. I think I was in direct contract with one of the creators, all in Nipper, I think it was. Just like, yeah, we're implementing that into the standard and having like username and password should be there. Same thing with HiveMQ and the others. They had following their tutorials was like, yeah, next, finish, and your MQTT server is up. After my talk and a couple of months after, you could see next, finish, and then set a username, password, and that's it.
Nice. Yeah, then that's what you want.
Moves on. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's perfect because everybody will keep following that. Next, finish, and it's done. I don't have to do more. Now I just connect my sensor to this, and we're done. But the layer of security needs to be there. It needs to be like a thought out process. You need to understand a little bit about network and security as well in order to, implement something. It's not as easy as just next, finish, and there we are. I wish it was, but it is.
Yeah, Ooh. I think. Yeah, I mean, what is the? Have you spoken to any hospitals that have the PAC server open to the internet? And
not directly, indirectly through other channels. When it comes to the medical field, then you can take that. Jack Barnaby was sadly is not here anymore, but Jack Barnaby was one of those people, for instance, that managed to actually get the attention in a nice way from the researchers at hospitals making equipment to actually highlight some problems. Sadly, when he passed, that connection to the medical field died with him. So what I see now is that you have to interact with so many people and go through so many channels that someone is going to say, stop, what the F are you doing? This is our stuff. We don't want to meddle with you. Go away. They're very proud of their accomplishments, which in all they should be. But adding another layer of security, for instance, in Jack Barnaby's case, would be a pacemaker or insulin pump, which is now also back on the carpet. It requires a little bit more battery. It requires a little bit more finesse, and all that they have been fighting for needs to be remade. So I can understand them in that one. But, as it comes to me, talking to someone directly who is responsible, no. It has been through contacts mainly and other distributors of PAC systems that have come to me afterwards and, did you find us? Is it safe? We have that hosted. What can we do? And, the homework is just get a VPN, host it internally, get a VPN. That's the easy fix. Because even if the doctor is down at a beach in Malibu or whatever he is, looking at his phone, he can just press the VPN button and then start the application. Done. And that's how it should be. But there's, I mean, the iSCSI, for instance, and MQTT, and you also have the other one that I forgot, which is also an IoT protocol used in doorbells.
Okay.
I was at it on that one for a while. I think it was a known brand of doorbells where you can connect to this protocol and you can just do a reset, and then you can do whatever you want with it. So you can actually send in Linux system commands directly to the doorbell if it was connected to the internet through this protocol. So and that I haven't talked about. I was like, I give up. I fucking give up, man. It's at one point it's
remote code execution on your doorbell.
It's like
that's pretty cool.
It is, and it's just looking at it. So I've been looking at like train protocols right now. In France, it's on the forefront of having like train protocols and security there. So hard to get any documentation. I saw a presentation from one guy talking a little bit about security, and he was the main guy implementing it in France. Less touch, less connections, but everything old and everything new, radio waves, and it's something that I started with as well. A little bit late in the game though, but still, it's standing at a train central somewhere and just seeing what's going on, on the radio network.
Oh, cool. See if you're using any SDR or
I have a hack RF.
Oh, cool.
With the Porta pack and everything, so I can be mobile with it. So
you can just put it in a backpack and
put it in a backpack, around. Just pull it out, walk around, and just analyze the radio frequencies. Not having to pull out an entire laptop just to be able to run the ham and listen to frequencies. Of course, depending on the country you're in, sending is illegal, but listening in should not be, depending on where you are. Of course, I know we have some laws here in Sweden. Frequencies you're not supposed to listen to or interfere with. But I think that would be my next step, to actually see if I can find something that is there.
Have you looked into the Iridium network or heard about the Iridium network?
Iridium rings a bell, but I can't say I have got any.
It's like a satellite network.
Those ones, yeah.
Yeah, and there's been some German people from CCC that's found a lot of interesting, apparently pagers that they use in the military go over Iridium, unencrypted.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I read about that as well.
So I think that's a really interesting protocol. I have I tried to get an antenna up and running a while ago for it, but it didn't work.
No, I managed to make a custom antenna and download images from weather satellites though.
Oh, cool.
So that is pretty dope to actually see the weather before the weather news. And try and predict it. Yeah. So, and then should I expand this to other satellites? What kind of communications do I need? What kind of antennas do I need? Where should I point it? There's a lot of things going on. So that is definitely one of the other things. And I know there's a competition I signed up for and don't think I got accepted to actually hack a satellite. So you actually get you get like a test satellite first where you find your exploit. And then if you have an exploit, you have to try it in real live with the satellite passing over. You have 9 minutes or something like that to actually execute your exploit and take over the satellite. That would be a nice competition to be in. I don't think I got accepted. My name's not big enough.
Who was hosting that? The satellite manufacturer?
EU and France in correlation. Let's see if I can find it just real quick. Hack CSAT. It's hack.csat.eu. I'll post it in the chat here. If we have a chat, do we have a chat? Yeah, we have a chat.
Yes.
Chat, there we go. Boom.
Cool. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. They already have done it, and 3 winners. Yeah. BA Systems and Team Captain.
So to sidetrack back to MQTT, were you surprised on how many different systems actually run MQTT and how much different stuff you found? Or
Yeah. I mean, what surprised me is that maybe there weren't that many servers in the beginning. My first scan back in the day was 82,000. But then it hit me like those 82,000 can host how many clients they want to. So, I was kind of surprised the amount of clients communicating over that protocol. And it was fairly unknown, but I didn't see anyone that had done a presentation before about the MQTT protocol and how it actually worked. But that was surprising to say the least. And it netted me a talk at DEF CON, which was one of my bucket list things to actually do. It got great response. Not the kind of response I wanted, because I wanted more people to wake up and see like they're not just installing their moist flower sensor to measure moist in the earth. They're actually opening up something, and Tesla cars. Someone installed MQTT on the Tesla car. You can see it. You could track it. Don't know if you could interact with it in some way, but it was there. Governments tracking suspect people. Not going to say which government, when and where, but in an oppressed country, we're tracking a lot of people that were driving their cars, and that was reporting the position through MQTT, and they contained the name of the person and other information as well. And that was not a taxi. So much could be said. I mean, there was you could just search for, you could just grep for something and you would find it. That's the crazy part. If you had an idea, so I could sit with my friends and just bounce off ideas and start grepping for that in the document. And there was something. MySQL usernames and passwords, web pages being displayed live, being updated over MQTT.
Oh, wow.
One of them being like America's weather, like where Microsoft has the American weather, where they pull their data from. So if you were to add, in this case, I added a dot, and that dot would show up on the homepage as well. So if I would do, script alert or inject something,
script injected.
Yeah, it would be injected. Same thing, direct connection to SQL servers containing passwords, emails, and customer data. I mean, nobody was safe, basically. So I'm not saying like, oh, Microsoft was really bad. No. It was just nobody was safe. Everything from Apple to SAP to you name it, and it was there. QNAP, you could just grep it and you will find it, which was horrible in a way. But even camera systems for taking photos of license plates were processed there. So you could see the license plate and the license plate owner, where they passed, what speed they were having, if this was an indictment or not, and stuff like that. And all these things you could read and you could write, because that's the whole purpose of MQTT. So whatever was out there and you found, you could affect in some way. It's horrible.
It is.
It blew me away.
How long did it take you to parse all the data or to go through it?
Yeah, I started with the grep one. So I just catted and grepped and, trying to find some stuff, but decided I need a better way to actually do it. To actually get the data in wasn't that hard for me. It was like understanding ELK and the Elasticsearch Kibana and Logstash, the setup and how bulky it is. And it's like, I tried, maybe I should do this in Nagios. Can I do this in Nagios? No. So deciding and installing a system that could actually parse my data was more headache for me than just doing offset and grep. But I needed that in order to get like accurate data, like how many IPs does this, does this data that is being parsed work from this to this, and how many instances at what time. So I could do another scan and add that on top of it, and another scan and do that on top of it. So you can get like a history spectrogram and see if it's still open, if it's still there, stuff like that. But I actually had to, have help people doing the Elasticsearch rule set as well to actually get that up and running with the configuration file, custom configuration file, and everything. So, but it was great to get help from the community on that as well. But we're talking days to actually get it
up and running.
An ELK stack, ELK stack. But for grepping, I do that right away. That's the thing.
Yeah, just pop a terminal.
Yeah, exactly. And just grep it. I can't stop myself. Yeah, but there's other protocols as well that are, this is kind of getting to be my mantra now. I scan something, it's unauthenticated, he's going to present it again. So I'm trying to find some other things that actually maybe fasten some protocols or radio waves to actually get something that is more, more a challenge than just doing stuff unauthenticated. Unless I find something that is really bad. There is this one that I wrote on my LinkedIn, which I call the doomsday scenario and vulnerability, which actually exists. Oh, I can't do details, but it allows me to reroute networks however I want. Take down networks, bring them back up, take passwords, and log in and do changes that is problematic for the entire internet as a whole. Basically, people are aware. The correct people are aware, because I was abroad when I found this, and with that data, there was also a certain pressure for I would say me being in trouble, where I say being in trouble as in someone else would like that data too.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't download data when you're abroad. That is for your scanner. But as I said, I'm a kid in a candy store, and I can't help myself. Even if everything is encrypted and everything, I still get paranoid. Think from the old series X-Files. This cigarette smoking man says to Fox Mulder, "Trust no one," and that's how I try to live my life. Though, trust no one, even if it says encrypted. I don't trust you. But with this information, you can see governments listening to other people, so you can see interfaces being set as monitored and listening into traffic with the correct root certificate. So it doesn't even matter if you're doing SSL to your Facebook, because that is intercepted in the middle. I mean, it's horrific behavior. And I've tried to ask. I've asked, why. Asked one government why this was the case, and their response was, "You shouldn't go meddling where it's none of your business." Basically, that kind of shut me up for a while. Yeah. That's like, okay, tonality changed. That's what the response they got from internal, though. But I'm thinking of maybe I should just do a YOLO and get it out there, because people need to be aware, and especially in this Russia-Ukraine conflict that we're seeing now. I mean, I don't see Anonymous utilizing this. They could do severe damage, and the other way around. I'm not saying you should. I'm like, it's a horrible situation down there.
Sounds like a BGP vulnerability. No,
a little bit, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Not directly, but it kind of correlates hand in hand. The vendor has marked this as informational, and saying that people who know will know.
Did it
I was
patch
supposed
it?
to talk about it. No.
Okay.
Intended functionality. It's supposed to be like that. We don't see the problem. But when I do like pen tests with companies and stuff these days, I actually take a look at that and make sure that isn't active, because that can, whatever they have in front is useless if this vulnerability exists. I think even Shodan has it now as well. Yeah, they do. So if you know it, you can search on it and Shodan, and it's just like the act of exploitation. You have to take care of yourself. But that's one of the horrible ones as well. But I'll see how I'll tackle that in the future, going forward.
Yeah.
But, if I disappear, you know what happened.
Yeah. Then we know. All listeners know.
Then we know. Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yes. On Hacker Talk podcast. Get your free Lucas posters ready.
Yeah, exactly. Just get them, find out where I am first. We'll see. But, there's so many systems. Just think of a scenario. What do you want to hack? You want to hack a point of sale system? All right, cool. Then what kind of point of sale system? I'll take you through my process. What kind of point of sale systems are there? What are they running on? Do you want to hack the terminal? Do you want to hack the actual point of sales? Is point of sales open with VNC? Oh yeah, in some cases it is, because people are lazy. Okay, how many open VNC instances can you find with this specific point of sales that you want to target? And then you have it. That's like the process. And even if you can get like a free demo of the point of sale system, can you install it on your computer? Can you start a fuzzer? Can you like see how it actually interacts and start finding vulnerabilities there? Can you get that vulnerability on a credit card or like an RFID type vulnerability? So when you scan it, it triggers and then runs your malware. Has been done somewhat by Jack Barnaby before in the jackpotting, as he called it. He had an ATM card. Yeah. You just stick that into machines and it balloons and then it starts spewing money. So it's, yeah, nobody wants to send me an ATM. I don't know why.
Not
but
yet.
it would be nice. So if you have an ATM, like a real ATM, and you want to send it to me, please contact Philip and he will set it up.
I will forward the information.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be so cool to actually do. Especially since I'm in Sweden, could you get a Swedish one? That'd be spot on.
I actually, I was in Romania and then I actually saw them take apart. There's actually like a small ATM security research community in Romania, I think.
Yeah, and that is, I've done some as well for clients, bigger clients. That I've tried to travel to and then be locked in for a couple of weeks in their basement doing the ATM testing.
Cool.
That is, you can touch everything, but not the card reader software. It's like, that's what I want to touch, man. That is the essence. That is what I want to do. I want to write code on my cards, stick it in and see how that software behaves. They were more concerned about the kiosk mode security, basically. So can you use the numpad to break out of this? Can you make it crash? Stuff like that. But I want to try it on a card. I want to have the reader software and then be able to, find vulnerabilities. And I've done the same on gas pumps as well.
So gas pumps.
Yeah. When you fill up a car with the expensive gold it is today.
Yeah.
You have the pump where you insert your card. Yeah, they're crazy. When you come back to Sweden, Philip, it takes someone out nice. You go for a car ride. That's the pickup you have to do these days with the ladies. you want to drive in my car? Can I? Yeah, sure. I'll pay. But jokes aside, I've done some testing on this was one specific brand of them, and we actually had to break in physically on the pump. But we managed to do that with wooden straws in the coffee cup that you could get for free inside because
you broke in with wooden straws.
Yeah, exactly. So what actually we determined was it was a hinge that was actually hooked to keep the door from opening. Underneath, they had ventilation. So what we did was we taped a couple of those wooden sticks and then we went up through the ventilation hole and just pushed and pulled until that hinge came loose enough to open. And then we had access to the card reader and everything on the inside, their network, yada, yada, yada. We managed to hack it so far. So it didn't say insert card. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, haha, insert your genitalia or something. No, I had to be professional. So I wrote insert kitten. So instead of insert card, it was insert kitten. And that was something I did from the network at the pump, connected to their station inside that actually handles all the queries and the languages that are being sent. We also changed commercial. So we had the trollololo going on instead for the standard, buy this Subway sandwich for $5.99 if you fill up your gas here type thing. So there was no security between those two layers. But that was pretty fun, actually. They decided to exchange every single pump that they had because of this security. And I had to go to the manufacturer of that pump to actually make sure that there were no extra hidden flaws in the new version of the pump. So I spent like a couple of days at the location to the manufacturer in their halls, trying to break into to their device, right? So that was pretty cool, like an extra job that came along with it.
That's really cool. Breaking in with wooden straws.
Yeah. I mean, it's too easy. I mean, nobody thought of that you can push the hinge from the inside and that will open it up, But apparently so.
That's really fun part when doing physical pen test as well. Instead of doing just writing the exploit, when you actually go in and you actually get to try to lockpick, and you actually get to try to see how long does this door last, and how long does it take for an attacker to get into our facilities.
Exactly. Just hardware hack the RFID, put like a device in the middle to send a signal in and open the door. I mean, those are the hardware stuff that I really, really, really like, especially under pressure. That is the best. You could probably open one of those boxes with a tubular pick lock as well, but you need to find an abandoned station and then use your tubular skills, which I don't have yet. I only had the wooden straw skill apparently, but it was pretty fun. And we have some internal movies where we showed how to open it, and it was pretty. The client was blown away. Like wooden fucking straws, yeah, wooden straws. Instead of the ventilator, wooden straws with the coffee machine inside. Yeah, that's
an attack vector.
Yeah, exactly. Don't sell wooden straws. But that was fun. But I've been places and done stuff that is, I mean, it's crazy places, crazy people, and crazy situations. Credit card manufacturer in the United States, we were asked to actually hack their internal infrastructure on location where all the transactions end up, right? And we got there, and
in a production system.
Yeah, like in their entire environment, where all your credit card from this brand they will end up there. That is the final destination and the processing. So they had a couple of billion transactions a minute going through the systems. And of course, when we get there, we had the approval from one manager and then, internal politics.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a week sitting in a conference room. We couldn't use our laptops. We were basically shut down. We're trying to find this way to find at least one vulnerability without touching the system. And we talked and we told the manager, can you print something for us? Yeah. Can you print the Cisco configuration file for the core router? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. That shouldn't be a problem. So it's like, okay, his internal politics. It was like, yeah, okay. Since they can't do pen testing, can we at least get the documentation? And the third party were like, yeah, we can give them the documentation. No worries. And they printed this manual. It was like 1,000 pages, like a thick book, double-sided. Page 1, latest update, 1997. We win. They hadn't updated the core switch since 1997, which means this was vulnerable to a whole slew of vulnerabilities. And the manager said, but the company comes in with a USB stick once a week and updates our core routers. What are they doing? Ta-da! So problem solved. We hacked it without touching it. Basically, the vendor got sacked from that credit card company to manage their core switches and routers. That was $1 billion contract. They were apparently not doing the job because a lot of the Cisco switches in there were untouched since 97.
That's like over 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. It was just standing. That was the core switch. That's what everything passes through, was this switch, which he updates once a week, coming in with a USB stick, and needs to leave his mobile phone and everything and have the USB stick scanned. And as an extra product, they had a scanner made by a competitive company of where I was at. So what I did was actually hack that machine as well on location, since I was that bored, that's the evil bit speaking. So we hacked their antivirus scanning tool machine, which scans with like 20 antivirus, as well as their core router. And we're not even touching a computer. This one executed. You remember those USB sticks that acted like a CD-ROM? The U3 file type? Yeah, I actually did that in my hotel room with the USB stick, and then just went to the machine and zoom in and executed. So, that was a big win.
Nice.
But it's been places, but I'm getting older as well. So, we'll see. We'll see if I can keep up with the kids today.
Yeah. So, what does the future hold for you?
Started my own company. Here comes the commercial part, yeah.
Yes.
Look in the camera and tell me what's going on for you. Well, I started my own company, non-bullshit company. Tried to focus more on actually not just giving the client a report and a pat on the back and an invoice. We kind of give them some more. So, I don't charge for phone call, try to be, we try to be more with the client and as well as the people actually doing the testing. So we're not going to have a sales team, for instance. We're going to deal with one person who's going to be the technical guy and the product responsible. That's my vision, and free candy in the company with the mentality. I don't care where you work from, if it's a beach in Aruba or is skiing down a slope with a beer in your hand, as long as you can take the customer call and the customer's happy. I don't care. Be wherever, man. So that's the kind of company that I'm starting, and hopefully it will be fruitful. Even started doing pen tests for free as well, especially if you're in the Nordics and the Ukraine environment. If you have any pen tests you want to have done, hit me up, hit Philip up, and connect us. Because I will definitely do it for free, especially if you're in the Nordics and Ukraine.
Is it public, so the name of this company now, so we can put I can put a link to it, or?
Yeah, I mean it should be. I mean it's gonna be Skull Key Security. Basically, long story short, I found a key once when I was a kid. I tried every abandoned house in the neighborhood until I found that, that house that the key actually worked for.
What house was it?
It was an abandoned old horse house. Okay. It was one of those old rusty keys that a friend of mine found. And hid it in our what do you call it, fort, which was up in a tree, which I was too fat to climb, but managed to climb it and found the key. And anyway, this key unlocked the door, and inside that abandoned house, I found something that was with me for 12 years. I'll spoil it. It was a cat. Okay, it was an abandoned kitten inside the house, which became my cat, Misan, for 12 years. So vision, what we want to do is want to help our clients unlock their potential and be a part of their life for at least 14 years. That's awesome. As cheesy as it sounds.
That's a really good story.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Lucas, thank you so much for joining me today in today's episode of Hacker Talk. How can people stay up to date with what you're doing and follow your research?
At Acigen on Twitter is my Twitter handle. Of course, then we have LinkedIn, which is Lucas Lundgren. Just search for that and you will find me there. I usually post stuff on Twitter. I only post when I have stuff to post, so it's not going to be any rants about anything religious, political, or I post when I have stuff, and both good and bad. So you can hit me up there. That's probably the easiest place.
Cool. Maybe we will see some satellite research coming up. Hopefully.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Is there anything you think that I missed or want to talk about that we have not covered?
No, not really. I think we have, a little bit of my story and a whole lot of MQTT and protocols and how to find those and do your testing. I mean, the only thing is don't take everything for granted. That's the key word here. Even if it says that someone tested that, someone did that, do your due diligence and do it yourself, because that's where you get the results.
Absolutely. So thank you all listeners for turning into Hacker Talk this episode, and thank you Lucas for being our guest of honor, and have a great rest of the day all listeners, and I'll see you in the future.